Fausto Pugliese, president of Cyber Trading University.
Most people always focus on the past, where as a professional day trader, we just focus on the future. You can do very well in trading, and you don't have to have a good amount of movement for the stock to go up.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Fausto here from Cyber Trading University, and welcome for another podcast. One of my favorite guests. I love having him on, the Whiz from TopgunOptions. It's been so excited to have you back. You know, let me tell you, you must be freaking out. You know, you must have been killing it. I know. I was just talking to you just before. We were talking about how we all kind of screw up, you know, Whiz. But you know what? Listen, it's not a bad thing. I mean, look what's happening. Things are doing great. So how you been enjoying it so far? How's it look in the portfolio?
I love being wrong and making money, right? Yeah. So I got the election completely wrong and printed money off of it. So that's a win-win in my case. But to your point, whether it's as an options trader or a fighter pilot, you learn more from your mistakes than you do your victories, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like I was going to tell you, it's more like a combat, I guess, floor trader thing in that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you came back safe. You're here, and that's the whole part about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't shoot them all.
Yeah. We have a saying in fighter aviation, there is a such thing as successful failures.
Yeah.
So this was a successful failure, and I'm here for it. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no. You know, one of my favorite movies is obviously, I guess everyone here is probably watching, Top Gun, the movie Top Gun, right? And Maverick, I tell you, I watched part of that movie like 7 times already. It gets better and better. He's just an unbelievable movie. And at the end of the movie, just like what you're saying, you know, what I mean, it was a complete failure. You know, it was a success. You know, and then sure enough, like you came back alive. That was the big one. Right. But anyway, regarding about the market and stuff like that. So what? Everyone here, obviously, they know you. You've been here before. We do a lot of events together. I think we have so much in common. You know, I think that's what makes so much fun. But where did you screw up? Like, what are you saying that is? Because you know what? I always tell everybody, screwing up is a good thing, because if you know why you did, you're not going to do it again. You know what I mean? So what was the reason and how you came back and made it alive?
Yeah. So my prediction, I was one of the only guys. Let me go back a couple elections prediction. 2015, I was doing a lot of keynote speaking. I've written a couple books and stuff like that. So I was out on the speaking circuit doing motivational keynotes and stuff like that. So people were talking to me, at cocktails after the keynote or something like that out in Vegas, and they'd whisper to me like, "Oh, I'm voting for Trump." I'm like, "Why are you whispering it?" Right? People were scared at that time to kind of admit. So I made a prediction, and I think Jeffrey Gunlock from Double Line Capital was the only other guy. I said, because I remember a couple days before the 2016 election, the cover of the New York Times had that famous graphic, like Clinton 94% probability of winning and Trump 6. I'm like, that's completely wrong. And it also, the Jamie Dimons and who was it at the time, Lloyd Blankfeins of the world were like, oh my God, if Trump wins, the market's going to crash. I'm like, they're all wrong. I said, not only is Trump going to win the election, the market's going to rally. So I got that right. But 2020 came around, man, and I said, and I was right this time too. In 2020, I said, it's going to look like he wins on election night and he's going to lose over the following days. People were ripping me to shreds, man. That's exactly what happened. But this time I was wrong. I copied and pasted. I said, there is no way in hell they're going to let him, win, from the lawfare to just everything that has occurred. He will look like it wins on election night and he'll lose over the coming days. So I was at a big event down here with Pat Bet David, with Candace Owens, a bunch of other folks. And I left, man.
That's a really good, that was some great photos. I saw it on your Instagram. That was pretty cool. By the way, make sure you follow him on Instagram. I follow him. I like him. I mean, he's got some really cool stuff. And we'll talk
about that. He's a veteran. Yeah, he's a smart guy, big businessman, just a great dude. So I left that event early, man. I went to bed. I'm like, it's going to happen again. And I woke up to my phone blowing up full of people spiking the football. But like I said, I don't mind being wrong when it's good, right? So yeah. I remember under the first Trump presidency, when we were at North Korea's throat, man. We were, and I was good friends with the commanders of the air group and the commanding officers of the carriers they were on. We had more carriers and naval presence off in the Pacific than since the Battle of Midway. And I know for a fact, men and women were walking to their airplanes to get airborne on some North Korean strikes. And I made that prediction too. I said, folks, I think, we're going to strike North Korea. I have it on good authority. And I placed some trades accordingly. And apparently, as I have heard, Trump said, you know what, we're not going to do that. He took a picture from like a global hawk or a predator drone with a bullseye on, the dude's head and he sent it to him and said, you know what, I'm not going to kill, 27 million North Koreans. I'm just going to kill you, and sent it to him. And the dude, picked up the phone and said, can I meet you in Singapore for lunch? I mean, please don't kill me. And the guy ended up walking into North Korea eventually and shaking his hand. So I got that one wrong too. I'm like, I don't mind being wrong, because some of the stuff that I predict to go bad, not happening, is fantastic. I think you and I have maybe talked about this before. As an options trader, as a fighter pilot, man, in the brief, before I place a trade or before I get airborne, I map out all the things that could potentially go wrong, so I'm prepared when they do, if they do. The time for me to figure out what I'm going to do if I get shot at by a missile over Syria is not when I get shot at by a missile over Syria. I made that decision sitting in the air conditioning on the aircraft carrier, sipping on my coffee. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. A boom, boom. So I react. So I'd rather plan for a lot of things to go wrong and be pleasantly surprised when they don't. So again, I don't mind being wrong when I'm making some pretty bad predictions. But even though I was wrong on the election outcome, man, we printed money trading the S&P 500. Well, we can talk in a little bit about the psychedelic stocks. Most of them are up about 50% in a week. And that's,
I know.
Haven't even started getting airborne yet. So again, I was wrong, but making money and being wrong, I'll do that for the rest of my life. Sign me up.
And everyone that's listening, and by the way, Laura, it's good to see you. Thanks for being Dan, everyone here listening in, saying, good morning and welcome back. Welcome back onto the show. The big thing is everyone has to understand is that please don't take this as a political thing, because it's not what it's about. We are traders, okay?
Exactly.
And listen, your political beliefs will make you a big loser in trade, because I tell everybody, if you don't like them, short the stock. Just short it if you don't like it. I mean, what could happen? And see what happens. Yeah. But we actually like when as traders, when you have a new regime of people coming in, because what ends up happening, it's going to cause you. I mean, you can see what's happened with the market. Certain stocks are going to move, certain stocks are going to tank, whatever it is. And this is your future. I mean, you can't, your personal feelings, what's going to happen is one thing, but this is your financial,
correct.
Your money for the rest of your life, you're going to be working for, that you have to work for you. And you can't be held behind the eight ball because your feelings got hurt. You can't think that way.
No.
I mean, Whiz, as being a fighter pilot, you're probably like, I don't really want to do that to the guy. Like, you know what? Those are actually nice people, but you have orders.
You know
what I mean? You got a mission. Your mission is your mission.
Yeah.
They're like, and everyone here. And by the way, I forgot to even mention, thank you for your service.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you for your service. And we have a lot of people that are veterans that are traders ours. And once again, thank you for your service. It's always been a pleasure and everything. But
before I forget, Fausto, probably everybody listening or watching right now has seen the movie Wall Street, right? Famous scene. I think after they're playing squash or whatever, working out, and Gordon Gekko, putting his Rolex on, looks at Bud Fox. He's like, if you want a friend, get a dog, right? I'm here to teach you how to make money, right? And throughout that movie, Gordon Gekko is quoting Sun Tzu, The Art of War, to Bud Fox. So yeah, I don't care who you voted for or anything. I have zero interest in any of that. We're here. You trade the market you have, not the one you want. And I tell people, based on some of my positions, just what you said, Fausto, it's a beautiful thing about being an options trader. If you listen to me, and for example, we can talk about the defense stocks and what I think is going to happen to them now. If you listen to all of what I call commit criteria, why I'm committing capital to this trade, I'm going to hit you with 3 to 5 sentences why I'm committing capital to this trade. If you listen to that commit criteria and go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, do the exact opposite tactic that I'm doing. That's the beauty about being an options trader. I'm doing this bull put spread for these reasons. You know what, Whiz? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Do the exact opposite. That's what makes a market. So, this is the beauty of trading. But politics does drive the market, folks. What happens in DC impacts our markets. You might not like the election outcome, but businesses are very bullish right now. I think the last time Trump was in office, he had an executive order that said if you're a government agency and you want to make a new regulation, you got to cut 2 existing ones.
You said 2, yeah.
Yeah, the 2-for-1 thing. So love or hate what's going on, folks. If you're trading the markets, you got to trade the market you have, not necessarily the one you want. And to be honest with you, Fausto, I told you I went to bed early. I woke up. President Harris elect Harris would have been President-elect Harris to me. I'm an American first, man.
Yeah.
And I support anybody. And I pray for anybody who's in leadership in this country. And if she had won, I'd be placing trades accordingly based on the market conditions. So I'm not married to the market politically, man. I trade the market I have, not the one I want.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have people that are just hate Elon Musk. And first thing I tell them is like, you know what? I'm glad you do. Short the stock.
Yeah.
Let me know how that's working
luck.
out for you right now. Dude, that thing flew. I want to tell you a funny story. I actually talked about this morning in my morning meeting. I don't know if you know this, but I'm on the ARB meeting in my town, the Architect Review Board, and there's some pretty high level people that are on there. We like to donate our time to our town and stuff like that. And one of them came up to me because we were talking about Elon Musk. He came up and he said, because we were talking about plans and stuff, and I got to get the video and I'll send it to everybody. They all said the same thing. He bought like 30,000. I don't know if you know the story. He bought 30,000 chips from NVIDIA, to build a data center, right? 30,000. Now, NVIDIA said, first of all, he goes, what are you going to do all these chips? You got to build this data center. He goes, it's going to take me 4 years to build it. This is NVIDIA saying it. He says, don't worry, I'm going to build it. He says, well, for them, NVIDIA, their own chip tells us to build it. It's going to take 4 years. You know how long it took them? 19 days. He couldn't believe it. The CEO says, I can't even build it in 4 years. How did this guy do it in 19 days?
Correct.
Is just unheard of. You know what I mean? Unheard of. So, the thing is, I would never bet against that guy. You know what I mean? The guy, he is the next Tony Starks, they call him. If you watch the Avengers and stuff like that. I mean, the guy just is a genius. So,
and there's some wisdom in that, Fausto, because and again, it just shows you how your political bent can bias you or poison you in your trading. When the guy was just Tesla and electric vehicles saving the world, man, they loved that guy, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
right? Blasting off rockets and stuff, and then now doing what he's doing, they've turned around to hate him. I'm like, come on, take that out of it, right? Hey, you might hate the game, don't hate the player. The guy, I have a buddy who's like, shrimp or vehicle for eating cocktail sauce. If you want a vehicle for eating Elon Musk, it's Tesla. The guy's going to Mars, folks. Love or hate the guy, he's doing some incredible things, and having him, and Vivek in charge of the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, it will be bullish for companies, folks. When there's less government regulation, CEOs, CapEx can go up. I can hire more people. I just feel good and bullish. So yeah, Elon Musk is just, what an incredible human being.
Well, look what happened. What he did with with Twitter, right? He went in there, he bought it out, paid them a ridiculous amount of mony. By the way, he got, that was like
44 billion. Yeah,
it was 40 billion.
44, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he overpaid that thing by like triple, but he didn't care. He had the money, he wanted to buy it. But the long story of the whole story about the whole thing was this: he got walked in the door and he fired 80% of the employees. I think he's down to 90%. Right. 90%. And look where it is today. If you fire 90% of your staff, right? You think about this, Whiz. You can't survive.
And the business keeps functioning normally. That should tell you something.
90% fired of that place. So, but by the way, getting back to the stock, just to show you for somebody here, let me just kind of share this. So just want to see what the stock has done. Yeah. If anyone here saw it, hold a second. I'll just bring it up here. Just bring it on an intraday chart. Why not look at it really quick and have a little fun? So you can see the stock right here. Basically, this is probably when he started to, I guess when he endorsed them right here. I think about it was right around here, I guess, back in October. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the stock was at 216 and then shot up right here at about 260. And then after the election, when it was at 245,
Yeah.
You could see it over here. It went to 360. So you're talking
Jeez.
about 160% move. Now, for some of you here, you don't have to trade Tesla. We trade TSLL, which is the ETF version of it. So cheaper stock of it, it's like $12. You could see it ran to 23. That was literally almost a double right there. So there were some really, really good buys out there, and we'll talk a little bit about those buys. But anyway, not to spend too much more time in here. We could sit and talk about this guy all day long. But getting back to you, Whiz, and talking about some of the stocks, I know you brought up military stocks because I own some of them myself. Okay. And want to basically get your thoughts on those because I think that's very important. I mean, I own Lockheed Martin. You know, I'd like to know your thoughts on that, if you see anything, any unusual.
Yeah.
But
about a month ago, I got super long-term bullish on Raytheon, RTX.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah, here's another failure out of the Whiz fighter. October 8th of last year, I was a little bit more concerned, especially after doing my psychedelic assisted therapy, about war and the horror that happened in Israel than trading. I needed to be a little bit more Axe Capital, a little bit more Bobby Axelrod and less Whiz Buckley, because on October 8th of last year, if you had bought Raytheon, you essentially doubled your money. Since October 8th, the day after the horrible attacks in Israel, Raytheon's just exploded, right? So, again, channeling my Gordon Gekko, if you want a friend, get a dog. But next time something, and God forbid this happens, if something happens like that again, you got to buy the defense stocks, right? So, Raytheon, after we got super long-term bullish, their last earnings 3-4 weeks ago, they swung to a profit and they raised their forward guidance, right? Two magical things you want to hear. Then a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal, big article, Pentagon out of missiles. Something you really don't want to see if you're an American, obviously, but way bullish for Raytheon, right? They make a lot, every time we saw clips of the Iron Dome in Israel lighting off bottle rockets, man, that's $1 million, folks. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The Raytheon.
Each missile?
The Iron Dome system. Yeah, it's $1 million. So 500 for the Arrowheads, I think they're called, but the Patriots, and those things ain't cheap, man. And here's, again, as a warrior, I have one belief. As an investor, here's the other belief. But, with the Houthis and the blowfish, right, down there in Yemen, they're ripping off $5,000 drones, and we're shooting $1 million missiles at a couple $1,000 drones, folks. This ain't, you do the math. But again, Wiz the Warrior has his own opinion, but the investor's like, that's fantastic news for me because they got to replace those missiles. Now, my strategic mindset, sell the wife, the kids, mortgage the house, buy Raytheon. I've moved it from being that uber bullish to kind of a medium because of the election, right? Donald Trump, love him or hate him, again. Hey, Putin, Vlad, I'm going to put you two in the room. You got to figure this Ukraine thing out. It's 3 years. What's going on? Israel, Iran, looks like Iran. I was looking at the foreign minister's Twitter account yesterday. That dude, I think, immediately made a 180 in a week. Last week, it was death to the great Satan and we'll kill all of you. And now it's like, please don't do the maximum pressure campaign. And, let's, Rodney King, can't we all be friends? I'm rambling about this because if you believe there might be peace on earth under Donald Trump, be careful of the defense stocks. They ain't falling off the cliff anytime soon. They're not going to zero. When you see a headline in the Journal that says the Pentagon's out of missiles, we got to replenish, Pete Hegseth, the new SecDef nominee, he's going to have to replenish our stock. So for the next 1 to 2 years, I'm very bullish on the defense stocks. But if Trump delivers on one of his promises of, hey, man, no wars under my command, maybe they're going to level off a little bit. But,
they're going to drop off. I mean, that was a concern. Yeah. Like I said, Lockheed Martin's a little expensive. It's down about $7 right now. We had a nice jump from the announcement. When it tanked, I saw when it hit a high, all-time high around 613. Took a big hit here, I guess, earnings announcements. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. Listen, some people always say the Republicans were the war hawks. It looks like more it's the Democrats that been more like the war hawks a little bit more. They've been more wars than Trump, and you could see it like apples and oranges. I mean, how many wars? If you're not at war, you're not blowing stuff up, and you don't have to replenish that. But if you have it,
Correct.
you don't have to replenish it. They're not going to buy these things. Are not going to do that well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my little concern, and that's why I'm probably going to get out of it because once
I'd
again,
agree.
it is a lot of money, to lay out. There are a lot of cheap other stocks out there. You probably want to tie in.
Exactly.
You're
There
not
you go.
talking about $20, $30 stock. You're in the hundreds. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
These names aren't cheap. Raytheon's $122 stock. So yeah.
Yeah.
Boeing, Lockheed, General Dynamics, all these names, folks, like we just rambled about, they're not going out of business anytime soon, but if Trump delivers on peace on earth, they will eventually, the air will come out of them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now you're getting into some other insights. So what is your insight on the current market right now? Like, I'll tell you what my thoughts on it, but I want to hear your thoughts first. Like, what are you seeing with the honeymoons, going on right now, and what stocks are going to be moving? Is it going to continue? When is things going to die out? When's it things going to start picking up? So what are you seeing on your end?
We've had this monster, and I got to be honest with you, man. I'm in a couple mastermind groups. I talk to buddies on the street. Some of these guys and gals were fairly short going into the election for whatever reason, folks. So in my opinion,
God, you kidding me? They were short?
Trust me, man. And they ain't doing so hot. So most shorts, I'm not saying this entire rally for the past week is a short squeeze, but most short squeezes 3 to 5 days to unwind, right? Because the first couple days are like, they're hoping it's going to go down. They're nibbling their fingers, and then, okay, I need to unwind these shorts. So I think we're going to fill, at least on the S&P 500, a little bit of this euphoria gap. Right now, it looks like the battle of 6,000 on the S&P 500. So I think we consolidate. But Fausto, it's that time of the year, man. I've been doing this same amount as almost literally same over 3 decades, right? 91-ish, 92-ish. Now we're really dating ourselves. I'm going to say anecdotally, 90 to 95% of the time, we get a November, December Santa Claus rally, fill in the blank. Festivus, airing of grievances, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, winter solstice. We're treated to a Black Friday videos of people beating each other to death for flat screens, to save a buck. So we usually get this Santa rally, and we usually peak around January, and we hover waiting for what? Q4 earnings, right? And me, man, I'm a big Amazon lover. So it's usually almost every year I see an Amazon, we literally destroyed Christmas. This year made last year look horrible. And then Cyber Monday. So usually we see a nice Santa Claus rally, hover into January, and then February, man, is usually a pretty volatile, sell the news. First of all, it's miserable weather, except everywhere, God's waiting room. February is it's usually a very volatile month. So me, short term, next 2.5 months, I see, I think that after we, fill the gap on this euphoria Trump trade, and we're going to rock it up there. Level January, and then I usually see a pretty volatile February. What do you think?
I think we're going to probably have a good honeymoon with certain stocks going on. Listen, he's building his cabinet, right? And he's always now all of a sudden, he's just basically spilling out, hey, I'm changing this, I'm changing that. You guys got to listen what he's saying. I mean, like, this is not like, he's not your typical politician that is, if they just can do like, if he just has half what he's going to do, that's a lot. Most politicians get into office probably only do about 10% of what they do. And the other 20, 30%, they didn't tell you what they're going to do. So you have to wait until they actually happen. So whatever he does say, you really got to take it seriously and don't take it with a grain of salt. And it's making those stocks move. I mean, specifically, we even cover and talk a little about Bitcoin, stuff like that. But that has just been, he wants to unregulate it, and he's going to, if he unregulates a lot of it, I mean, these banks are doing great because of it. All these, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Whiz, I have so many damn stocks on our watch list. My students are now, they're 60, 70, 80 years old, and they're becoming, masters at Bitcoin. They're not trading Bitcoin in general. Just there's so many ETFs out there. There's just so many, mining stocks out there. I didn't realize how many there are out there. There's just so many of them.
It's its own world, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many of them, and we're doing great, and they just keep going up and up and up. I mean, like, shoot, IBIT, that was my big favorite one. That thing just broke all-time highs. Right now, it's up about 4%. It's up about $2. It just keeps going higher. It just won't stop. BITU, BITX. I mean, they just don't stop. Coin, they just don't stop. So PLTR, we didn't even talk about that one too. That looks like another big breakout. That's another, that's been a great company too. that's been doing unbelievable. I think
Oh,
you
yeah.
saw the, but
You know, Fausto, before I forget, keep an eye to your point of listen to what the guy's saying. I think he's bringing Lighthizer back, Ambassador Lighthizer, to be the trade rep. I'm old enough to remember, folks, like Mnuchin and Lighthizer in China over a weekend. We're this close to a trade deal, Mr. President, but they think Biden's going to win, so they want to hold off to, for him. Get on an airplane, trade deals off. You know, the futures opened down like 900 points that Monday. I remember because I was in Notre Dame coming back from a keynote. So keep an eye, as you point out, as he's appointing people, what he says about trade and also
Right.
China. I just miss how he used to say China. Keep an eye on FXI, Foxtrot X-Ray India. It's the iShares.
That's not doing too well.
Yeah. So it's the iShares Large Cap China ETF. And it had a big rip about a month and a half ago when the PPT, right, the plunge protection team, the People's Bank of China said, we need to jump in to save our capitalism here. And it just had this rip your face off rally. Now, awesome. Yeah, it's filled that gap. And you might, I don't know, man, if he starts talking tough on China, I think you might be able to pound that thing into the dirt. It filled that. There you go, half the gap, and it's hovering.
Yeah,
or it actually looked like it broke. Yeah, it might be. If it's officially underneath that half the gap, I'd get ready to pound that into the dirt, especially if he starts doing the I like G, good dude, been to Mar-a-Lago, good backswing, but we're gonna kill you in trade. That thing's gonna get hammered, man. I guarantee it.
Yeah, listen, one thing I could say about Trump, I think this is like a game to him. Like he knows he can manipulate the market, you know, and that's it's not a scary thing I'm telling everybody, but he's a businessman and he just knows, like, he's not a typical politician. Yeah. He just knows, like, I'm gonna make the market move today because I just want to piss somebody off. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm just telling you, and you might not like it, but you better pay attention as traders because they're like, please say it so, because that's why day traders love that stuff, because it's going to cause action.
I trust me. I had alerts set up on my phone 2016 to 2020 for his Twitter feed. Man, it moved. To your point, man.
Moved the market.
He moved the markets. I'm old enough to remember. I think it was 2016. He grabbed the cell phone one morning and said, "Amazon, big monopoly. Somebody needs to do something about it." I'm like, oh my God. The president just tweeted about Amazon being a monopoly. It took a little bit of a hit that day, and then 4 years later. I'm sure he didn't think it was the last year of his presidency, but grabbed his cell phone again. Jeff Bezos, Washington Post, Amazon, awful. That day the stock went up. So he can move the markets, and then other times, sometimes the market ignores him. But I'll never forget. I'm like, did the president of the United States just tweet about Amazon? Holy crap. As a trader, have that guy's Twitter feed saved somewhere, because to Fausto's point, he can move market. But he gets it wrong too. So Fausto, I wrote a book called COVID Crash because I had a deep throat, so to speak, in the White House. And in December of 2019, he was a loop. You ever see the guys and gals with the braids under their arm in their dress uniforms? We call them loops. My buddy was a loop. And he said, yo, man, there's something is China's going crazy right now. There's a level 4 weapons, the only level 4 weapons facility in Wuhan. Something got out and they're freaking out. We think it's coming here. I did outsider trading. I told all my members about this. And then we all know what happened next, man. Not coming here. I love Xi. I trust the guy. Boom. And we had the COVID crash, the COVID market crash.
Right.
I bring this up because I have a screenshot. He deleted it, but I have it saved in my book. One of those days, the Dow was down 3,000 points. Stocks are looking good here. I'd be a buyer of stocks. I got bearish the next day that the Dow went down 1,500 points. I think I made 75 grand. So he can tweet, but he can also be wrong. But you have to have, you got to know that is a potential market moving thing for the next 4 years is Trump and his Twitter feed.
Yeah, and one of them I want to throw in there. I don't know if you guys all remember, but Elon Musk is the same thing. I never forget one day he was on his Twitter feed and he wrote Doji.
Yep.
He just wrote Doji, and all of a sudden I'm like, Doji just literally just lit up, went up like, I don't know, like 1,000%, and just kept going.
Or how
So
about his he finally got off the hook for it, his funding secured at 420. I'm like, that's a joke, folks. 420's weed. But he tweeted, anytime Elon Musk tweets about something market related to, keep an eye on that. You're right.
yeah,
And
keep an eye
he
on it.
tweeted Trump or Musk, I forget what it was, tweeted something about something, but there's a publicly traded company that's also named that, and this little mom and pop stock went up like 1,000,000,000%. I forget what that was, but people just Googled it immediately and said, "Oh, that must be the stock," and bought it, but it wasn't that. So we're back with some market moving people in positions of power.
So Wiz, getting back to your style and everything and so on. So what is there anything new you're working on? Is there anything you could show us a little bit more, like get prepared? Because we're talking about the great war stories about how as traders and what we do and how we take our style to it. But maybe you could show us a little bit like what should we look at? I mean, I know you did great with the Amazon trade, and listen, at the end of the day, we were just in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? That really what came down to it. But what kind of strategy you kind of think were you seeing that we should look for, and what stocks we should look for everybody here that's listening?
Folks, I could not be more bullish on this one sector, and I would, sell the wife, kids, mortgage the house type of buy with both hands. The psychedelic stocks, folks, publicly traded psychedelic names: MindMed, MNMD, Atai, ATAI, Compass, CMPS. What else? Cybin, CYBN. Look at these names. They're up. Some of them are up 50% in a week. I'm looking at a headline. I woke up this morning drinking my coffee, Politico. The buzz about Trump and psychedelics. RFK Jr., folks, love him or hate him, sent out a tweet last week. The FDA, I'm coming in there like Jesus and the money changers, psychedelics. And then Joe Rogan, 2 days ago on Veterans Day, talked about RFK and psychedelics, and RFK posted a tweet that said, "Good call, Joe. I think our nation's veterans should have access to legally approved psychedelic assisted therapy." So, warning, Will Robinson. Let me warn you. This is like Fausto and I in 1999 with the internet boom, man. There's a Netscape, there's a Pets.com, there's an Amazon, and a Google. You buy the right two, you're rich. You buy the wrong two, you're broke. So these might be a little bit of lottery tickets right now. A lot of these names have psychedelic medicines in phase 2 and phase 3 trials. I'm speaking from experience, folks. I sat with these medicines 3.5 years ago. Marcus Luttrell, if you've ever seen the movie Lone Survivor, I went down to Mexico with Marcus Luttrell, famous Navy SEAL, and these medicines saved and changed my life. So I came home and started the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. We give healing grants to our veterans. So I could not be more bullish on the publicly traded psychedelic stocks. And here's another reason why. Aside from the life-saving and changing, let me give you a threat real quick. When I was in D.C. about 1.5 years ago, behind closed doors, congressman shall remain nameless, Whiz, I love what you're doing. You're going to have a problem with the big pharma and, the alcohol and tobacco folks. And I'm like, isn't that your job? So here's another thing I was wrong at. I thought the Democrats were already there, man. Hippies, psychedelics, you guys are there. They turned out to be the ones in bed with big pharma. When MDMA was disapproved, 2 months ago, 11 of the 12 advisory board members have ties to big pharma. So RFK coming in and saying, you guys are gone. If psychedelics are working for our veterans, let's go full throttle. So I would look at those names. One of the main reasons I'd look at those names, aside from the potential life-saving and changing things they can do, is let me go Gordon Gekko. That was Wiz talking. Let me go Gordon Gekko. If you're the CEO of Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, or Eli Lilly, and you're sitting in your headquarters right now, drinking your coffee, smoking a cigar, looking at RFK talking about this stuff, or Trump legalizing psychedelics, and Marcus Luttrell, hand to God, Wiz, I was on 15 meds at the VA. 5 when I woke up, 5 for lunch, 5 to go to bed. He hasn't taken a medication since we did the medicine 3.5 years ago. There's a revolving door between the VA and big pharma. If you're a CEO of one of those companies and you're going, okay, what are you going to do? While these smaller publicly traded psychedelic companies burn through, as you know, Fausto, it takes a lot of money to do a phase, 2, 3 trial. And So they're
You know what
going
I
to
tell
let.
everybody? I tell everybody, Wiz. I tell everyone, you want to learn about psychedelics stuff like that. I pharma. I tell everyone, if you're not a big fan of it, watch the first movie, the new movie, the new movie of Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes. The whole movie about it was about, and it showed you not to be a Planet Ape fan. Just
Yeah.
watch how the pharma kind of build this drug, and obviously that's how the monkeys were able to talk and whatever, because his whole thing was trying to give his dad the drug. I think it was we have Alzheimer's, something like that.
Mhm.
But anyway, it just shows you how much money they dumped into it, and they're trying to save it and this and that. So getting back to your point, not to cut you off, yeah, you want to learn a little bit more about how much these pharma companies put into a drug. That is a very good way of losing, and how they pull the plug on it, and how they could lose everything. Because you see some of these pharma companies, they lose their drug, and they're like, I understand the stock just went from 20 down to $1, and you think it's a good price to buy average down, and they don't come back.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't come back. But sorry, but go back.
Right. No, that's a great point. It is the big pharma executive. If I was a big pharma executive sitting there looking at, because MindMed has a medicine that's very close to FDA approval for generalized anxiety disorder. I think 40 million Americans suffer from this. The MindMed results were one of these treatments, 4 months or weeks later, 90% of the people were cured. You don't hear stuff like that with big pharma, with a dude in a lab coat with a beaker mixing stuff, man. Something about God putting this stuff on this planet for us to heal. They're going to swoop in with their size 12 checkbooks and scoop them up. I guarantee you're going to be sitting here one day, breaking CNBC, breaking news, MindMed stock is up 400%. Pfizer's announced. If you're the CEO of one of these publicly traded psychedelic companies, you have a fiduciary duty. Doesn't matter if you go, I don't want to sell to Pfizer, and it's going to become a problem. They're going to patent and charge 20 grand a month. Too late, pal. You run a publicly traded psychedelic company. You have fiduciary duty to sell if somebody comes in with a good offer. So as Whiz, the No Fallen Heroes Foundation chairman, and caring about this, I pray the publicly traded big pharma companies don't come in and do this. As Gordon Gekko, the portfolio manager, I guarantee you they're going to do it. They can't not do it. They can't let these little, Davids take down Goliath. So one of the other reasons I'm uber bullish on the psychedelic space is because big pharma ain't gonna sit idly by and let this stuff happen. And it sucks because Fausto, they're gonna take psilocybin, change a couple molecules, and call it psilocybin and patent it and trademark it, and so you don't have to go down to Mexico and get your ass kicked like I did. So I'm torn on the issue. If we can get more healing to more people, I think the world would be a much better place. But as Gordon Gekko, I almost don't want it. One other stock. So I've given you a couple. Look at Sabra, SBRA. So Sabra. So I'm in a private it's called Healing Realty Trust. We saw this coming, Fausto. So around the country, around VA hospitals and big hospitals, we have bought a lot of property pre-existing, outside of hospital spaces. Why? Because when, not if, some of these medicines are legal for therapeutic use, your doctor ain't writing a script for it and you're going home. There's got to be a nice place with, you're doing like a 4 to 6 hour journey. There needs to be 2 people in the room. There needs to be a separate bathroom. There needs to be a nice big room with a couch. So the infrastructure, kind of like with Bitcoin, I sometimes don't trade up here. I trade the infrastructure. Like you and I were talking about the miners, or I like trading the base of this stuff instead of lotto tickets up here. So Sabra, folks, is doing what my Healing Realty Trust is doing, but we're private right now. I hope to be on the floor soon as we go public. But Sabra is out there acquiring like we're doing. And if you look at Sabra right now, since I recommended it in April, it's up 40%. The other reason I love Sabra, look at the dividend right now. Over 6% dividend on Sabra, and it's a leader in this healing space. If you believe RFK, if you believe Trump telling RFK, I'm going to let you go in the health space and go wild, I'd look at Sabra. And it's got options, Fausto, but
Yeah.
when I see something at 6% dividend that's moving up and to the right, I'll just buy the damn shares and, maybe sell some calls against it to generate some extra income. So Sabra is a big name.
It's funny you bring up RFK, but that's something that I actually talked about also this morning. He's probably the only person that you have not heard him bring up at all yet of what he's going to do. And that will bring another new bunch of stocks that are going to move.
Correct.
And like you just brought up the psychedelics and stuff like that. I would probably recommend everyone, like what Whiz is saying, is just like, you'll know when they're moving, because if you just see one starting to make a move and news come out, there's obviously a bunch of them out there, just like what's going on with Bitcoin right now. I'm finding stocks are like, wait a minute, that stock was a Bitcoin, or like AI stocks. Like, wait, that's an AI stock.
Yeah.
There's more than you could even imagine that are out there that we don't even know, and they will come up. So one good strategy to kind of teach everybody here, it's something we and this is why you got to learn how to day trade. Everybody understands what we focus on as day traders, that if there's an industry, if there's something that's making a big move, just like the weight loss drugs, like you're talking about the pharma stocks, the big one was obviously Nuvo. And then obviously Eli Lilly coming out with it. But, all of a sudden now you got Hims that's doing great. I'm watching those commercials because you can't afford the drugs. You're starting to see like Viking. That's like, oh my God, Viking. That was a better one out of them, all of them. So if one takes off, they're all going to take off. So that's a good way of looking at it. If you're seeing an industry moving, you just got to go with the herd. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Agreed. Yeah. Crowded trades aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're crowded for a reason. Unless everybody's an idiot, which is a possibility, but usually doubtful.
Well, we see a couple of those down. And listen, those are the ones that survive. Listen, great traders. The worst traders make the most amount of money because they like to hit home runs, but they'll strike out more than others. Correct. It's all about hitting base hits. You know what I mean?
Dude, you nailed it. When I was at Peak 6 in Chicago, Jenny Just, who ran the firm, one of her guiding precepts was, we may not make the most money, we make money consistently. That's the definition. People think, hedge fund, these huge hedge fund folks is designed to make money up or down markets, right? It's a consistent. Get on base, man. You swing for the fence. You might knock one or two out. You're gonna be struck out a lot more often than you're hitting them out of the park. I guarantee you.
Right. And I'm the first one. I had friends of mine that killed me in trading. I'm like, my God, this guy's, and I trained them, and all of a sudden they like blow me out of the water. And then all of a sudden they're not there anymore.
They're gone. Exactly.
They're gone. They're gone because it just takes that. It's just, what ends up happening, and everyone here will probably admit to it. We sell our winners too soon and we hold our losers too long.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to it. So you're going to lose. It's just what happens. They end up going all in on something, and then all of a sudden it blows up in their face.
Now, you got to take the emotion out of trading. That's why, we have a 7-step trade plan, man. That I take all the emotion out of my trading. I look at my trade plan and said, hey, 2 weeks ago, I said I was going to get out of this. If this happened, that's happened. Get out. No emotion. I don't look at it and go, nah, I'm an idiot. And, Apple won't do this to me. Dude, Apple doesn't even know I exist. They'd steamroll my house if they could. So emotionless trading is where you want to be. And I know that sounds easier said than done, but if you have a couple of times where you touch the stove and it's hot, you learn not to touch the stove,
And William, regarding, just put a comment that he voted for Harris, and I'm on the Trump bandwagon. Listen, regarding about that, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's your political beliefs, but now we're traders, and I always talk about it all the time. And I have both types of people in our trading room. We try not to make it political, but the thing is what it is what it is.
Correct.
It's chicken or fish. And, or steak and chicken, whatever it is, you can't go back to it. And that's like, listen, now it's just steak. So you could starve yourself or just eat steak. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'll starve myself. Okay, we'll see how long that lasts. You know what I mean?
It's
vegan.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be interesting. Did you watch a press conference last week? What about Powell? If the president if Trump asked you to resign, would you? No. I'm like,
oh yeah, I know. I heard that.
Wow. And then somebody had a follow-up question like, well, if Trump tried to, it's against the law. Next question. I'm like, holy crap, man. We got the Federal Reserve
That's
already.
An interesting one. I'm going to see it. I mean, I know he wants to put Jamie Dimon in there, which we really, but I don't know if Jamie Dimon wants a job. I know he wants to retire, but
Yeah, I don't think he would like the pay cut. And Jamie Dimon's his own personality. I don't
He
know.
doesn't need the money though. He made enough money. He made enough money.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're coming to New York, right? You told me.
Yeah. I'm up there next week for a dinner with General Petraeus. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm going to be down your neck of the woods doing a presentation with TradeStation. So, but I want to just tell you something about the whole thing about which we call it Citibank. I don't know. Was it Chase Building? It's Chase or Citibank. So if you go down, if anyone here is in New York, you got to go down to Grand Central Station. Okay. So I think it's the Chase Building right next to Grand Central Station. They knocked down this building. Okay. They built a brand new building. You look it up and you'll see it. This shows how much money they have. They built their new headquarters. It's about 100 stories, I think it is. They built this building, and let me just say, it cost. But I think let's say it costs like $10 billion. When you look at the building is not even in the ground. The building is above the ground. They put these steel rods, okay, that hold the building up, that go below all the way down past the subways. That's how big these rods are. Now, the reason why I bring this up is like I know a lot of project managers, and you'd probably know what I'm talking about. I mean, that's like a whole business, which I could talk about days about that. That's another, these guys make a lot of money, and and they told me like that building, the beams alone cost $1 billion just to hold the building up. It was like 20% of the job. Wow. Like what was the purpose of blowing all that money, just another, because they can. So getting back to Jamie Dimon thing, like, listen, he's so loaded now when he makes so much money, they want to have that, listen, there's no, you can't get that power, I mean, that's a pretty substantial thing on your portfolio to be on, to be the
Treasury Secretary.
Treasury Secretary. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So
yeah,
I think it would be, or the Federal Reserve. I mean, being the head of the Federal Reserve, I think that's why I think he wants to put him. We'll see how that works out. But Whiz, once again, before we go, tell everybody how can they know a little bit more about you, where they can get to register for your upcoming events and stuff like that. You got a link or something out there you want to post?
Yeah, no, just go to TopgunOptions.com. Up at the top, if you want to, I do almost a daily a situation report, 5-10 minute, just quick, blast on what I'm looking at for the market. Or if you're interested, like we alluded to earlier, I have a service called Solo Amazon where we only trade, wait for it, Amazon. Because I believe that, I call it the Death Star, right? Trading the Death Star. Yeah. Holy crap, man. This thing, it destroys, it takes over everything it touches. And if people, people sometimes get a little, look at me with that RCA dog look with their head tilted, like you only trade that one name. Folks, that's diversified in and of itself. It is its own Death Star. I flew for FedEx for 10 months. I was miserable. Went to American, long story. But folks, Amazon Air is bigger than FedEx and UPS right now.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, AWS, Amazon Web Services, is Microsoft. Amazon Prime is Netflix. Amazon Pharma, whatever. Warren Buffett. Me as a fighter pilot, I'm direct. I use clear and concise comm. Diversification's for stupid people. Warren Buffett said, "Diversification's a protection against ignorance." It makes little sense if you know what you're doing. So that's kind of one of our gateway drugs, so to speak, to check out what I do at Top Gun Options. It's only $97 a month. I don't drink anymore because of the medicine, thank God. But I used to say it's an average bottle of wine. So if you want to check out our Solo Amazon team, I'd love to have you. But just check out, or on Instagram. I'm official Whiz Buckley. And unfortunately, why do you put the word official? I think that my second or third largest amount of followers are from Nigeria. I think about three times a week, dude, I get somebody sending me, here's my pictures, and they were asking me to fund some folks there. There ain't no other Whiz Buckleys on the planet. I don't think so. But official Whiz Buckley is where you can find me on Instagram. And I don't live in Iraq. This one lady's like, "You were supposed to marry me and I sent you 12 grand and you were stuck in Iraq." I'm like, oh my God, people. I feel so bad sometimes for for people, but
Sometimes there's scams too. I mean,
it's
you know,
awful.
yeah.
I pray these people find God. If you're at some point in your life where you're doing that to people online, I literally pray for you, but I also pray that you get caught. So yeah, follow me on Instagram or come check out what we do here at Top Gun Options, man.
Absolutely. And then once again, everybody else, if you want, just grab your cell phone. You can always scan the QR code, top left-hand corner. Make sure you follow us, friend us. We will have these videos broken down. We'll have some highlights for you. We will have this on our podcast channel. So definitely watch it. It was a great, love having him on here. It's more than once I had Whiz on here, and we'll definitely have him here again, as always.
Yeah,
but if you want to watch the video, just I said, just go out there and scan it and just like us and friend us. Whiz, thanks for coming and enjoy your trip here. Hopefully see you back in Florida, and everyone else. We'll see you back next week for another episode of our podcast of Cyber Traders. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Fausto. See ya.